Okay, this is a test. It just
Hello, good morning. and we can get going momentarily. I always set this at 27, otherwise it will be, you see, so that's a decibel control. Good. Uh, and I'm going to, uh, great. And we see for now, I'll do a quick check and see who's there. Good. Okay. And we've got that going. I'm going to leave. Okay. Just want to do a little tech check with Nikhil and Sanjanab. Hi. How are you doing today, Nikhil? Are you there? Can you hear me in? Uh, it's Lon. Nikhil, can you just confirm that you can hear? And we want to hear you. So please just say hello on your microphone. Go ahead. Okay, so that's if not, I'm not. I know they can. They should be. Sanjanab, can you hear me? It's Lon.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Oh,
Hello, how
beautiful.
are you?
Hi. Great. Good. How are you? Okay, great. So we're good there technically. I think we can get started. Dami is joining us online. Good. So we're going to start in about 4 minutes. I just need to do one final thing to get our uh, wall set up properly, so we have too much going. So what we want is over here, we want the notes. So we'll do, no, sorry about that. It's so counterintuitive. I just have to slow down and then, okay, there we go. So notes come up over there. Um, and we want, right in here, we want the map of the world. And then over here, uh, we'll bring back the main, and we'll come back to U2 and the sphere, and we'll do this. Okay. Yeah. So we're on main. Good. Yeah. And then just stay. Yeah. Things. Okay. Just stay still. Stay still. Yeah. I think it might be because of my glasses. Okay. Um. So uh, now we want some audio there, and we do it off here. Okay. Great. Okay. So, uh, good there. Okay. Uh, just about that. Look at that on the Sphere in Las Vegas. For those of you online, you you can click on this in the link in the live chat to get the audio. You can only see the video right now behind me of U2's concert at the U2 Planetary Sphere in Las Vegas. So if you want the full on benefit of this with the audio, just click on the link in the live chat, and you can put it in a separate tab. Mhm. I didn't see this part. Okay. Here, I'll give you all a little bit of context. We have been watching this morning, but let's go back to the beginning so you can all see what this is. Okay, there we go. And like that, Las Vegas, Sphere in Las Vegas. Here, I'll come back. It just opened recently. There it is. Okay, so let's just come back here, Victoria, and great. Hi, Dami. How you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, really well. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm gonna move that away. Got everything connected there. That's working. Come back to here, and I think we are set. Yeah, and then we've got microphones there, and let's see, Maureen's there. Yeah. Hmm, yes. Is it Leanda? Where you been? Mm, nice to see you again. Yeah, great. Okay, I think we are. Come on over, okay? And um, I can just right there. It's great. I'm going to start momentarily officially. I just want to check my content because most of the time my mind is so consumed with tech and the content gets sacrificed. But gradually things are getting better and the content is most important. Yeah, I can see everything on YouTube is good on the live stream there. So let me just find a little bit of water and then I'll get welcome everybody to our global leader class. And we can talk during the class. Is that okay if you have any questions to talk during the class, or do you have something burning? Here, go ahead. Let's jump right into it. Okay? Here, I was going to throw it, but I got to be careful. Okay? Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Wasn't that bad? I was just gonna ask, specifically, we are going to reflection 3, correct?
Yes, we are. I'm going to talk about that momentarily. Or how everything's going to work.
Okay,
The
I'm gonna
second
hold
half
off
of
my
the
questions.
semester. Yeah. Good question. We will get to that. And actually, we have, yeah, you can hold on to that microphone. Madison can take one, and I can bring it over to it's Leanda, right? Leanda, and then Maureen will have one. So we can take off now. So the spacecraft is starting to ascend from the Earth and is moving straight up, and soon we're going to be into orbit, and we will be true astronauts in at least perspective. That's what we do in the global leader class is we try to think like astronauts for this new world we're in. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to move on with a new topic, and I have asked another great guest to join us, Madison Wesley, who's here, and you're going to learn a lot from her shortly. And I'll explain what she's going to help us to understand. And thankfully, Maureen is back as well. Remember Maureen from the other half of the two sisters, Maureen and Adiha, and so she has graciously offered her time to be a volunteer and to help build the, the global class, of course, in education. So I'm always grateful. So she's going to be on the notes today, okay? And Dammy, if there's anything that she's not doing quite right on the note, jump on your microphone and say, Maureen, you need to do this and not that, okay? And let's see if Dammy's listening. Can't see you, Dammy. We can't even see the live chat. But did you hear all of that?
Yeah, I did.
Good. Good. Okay, so let me shut the door. So essentially, that's how the class is going to work today. Maureen's going to get on the notes. She's really good on notes, so we can kind of fill in a lot of things on the card. She will write it really well, and this will be a good resource. So essentially, what we're going to do today, after we just do a little review and talk about the reflections and coming and what's ahead is then Madison is going to come up and join us, and she's going to be talking all about this idea of digital empathy, or the idea of empathy. And she brings a wealth of experience because she used to be the coordinator of the Student Leadership Institute here at Durham College, and then has gone over to the other side, to Ontario Tech, and is doing her PhD now. So there's a lot of important research she's doing. And so there's a lot that she can help you understand about um, leadership, about her sort of path to thinking about leadership, but most importantly, this driving idea right now that she has, and she's doing more research on, and it's this idea of empathy. And she'll explain more about that, okay, as we get to it. But I wanted to, as always, make sure that we talk about what's coming as well, what's ahead. We have a a big class coming in 2 weeks with our president, Don Lavisa, and I wanted to show you something about that. So let me just put this up on the board, and then I just want to chat with Maureen a little bit too. Right now, you're looking behind us on the big board at the concert that U2, the Irish band, Bono, I'm sure you've heard of, when he gave recently in Las Vegas, when this new sphere was opened there, and I'm just rewinding now, and you can see on the board behind me the opening, um, spectacular opening of this massive sphere, and inside of it, um, you will see Bono and his bandmates giving a concert, and it's really interesting, and it's just one more example of planets popping up around the world. I remember when the planetarium popped up in downtown Toronto next to the Royal Ontario Museum back in the late 1960s, and right now it's lying kind of unused. And I have a secret dream that maybe we could have that as the base of the global class eventually. But this whole idea of thinking about the whole world, thinking about the planet as one thing is is very new in the human story. It may be something you all take for granted, but you are among the first humans ever to be growing up in a world where the creatures on this planet have left the planet and they're thinking about the whole planet now. And that's what we do here in this room, is we open ourselves up. So it's great that the Sphere has opened in Las Vegas, and I wanted to just show you something else behind me. I'm going to go to right now a tab, show you the class page that has been um, prepared. I'm just going to cut the audio there for a second and go to here it is. Oh, whoops, that's the wrong page. DC Talks. Okay, so behind me, I've just put up the class page for the class that we will be having in 2 weeks. And I just want to tell you about this, what's coming, as well as address the reflections, and then we're going to jump into the class. But right now, if any of you want to watch the video that was just presented, the link is in the live chat. So for those of you on Toria, you can watch it now or later, or have it in another tab with audio. And if there's anybody who's joined on YouTube, it's also in the YouTube live chat as well. So let's move on and just talk a little bit about what's coming. This class, as we've already established, has been looking a lot at global forces. In order to become a global leader, you need to understand what are the forces driving the bigger planetary world today. And we've looked at some of them already, and we've certainly touched on AI early on in the semester. You remember when we touched? Well, we're going to have a big class in 2 weeks with our president, where we're going to be looking at AI in much greater detail. And what we have done through the department here of development and what is it, Sally Hillis and Jennifer, and Alumni affairs, exactly. Every semester we have a class where our president comes in and I sit with him and we invite Durham College graduates from wherever they may be in the world to talk about and explore with all of you this idea of what it means to be a global graduate, how you can begin to think about the big forces and issues that affect all of us today. And so on November the 22nd, I'm just scrolling right now through the class page on the Global Class website. We will have 4 Durham College graduates joining us to talk about AI and the work that they've been doing in AI. And this is something that I think you're going to find really interesting, and I encourage you to invite others as well. It's formally promoted at the campus as DC Talks, Durham College Talks, and I'm going to try doing something not too fancy. I don't want to share the link right now. I can do that later, but if you want to see this class page, just enter Rotary Global Classroom in your search bar, and it will take you to our website, and you will see right on that front, the home page, this, I'll go to the home page, and you'll see the Rotary Global Classroom right there, and you'll see the featured class that's coming November the 22nd. Okay, and there it is, view the class page, and if you scroll down, you'll see some work that Maureen did at the expo. You'll even see a bit about Madison here when she was the student success coordinator. And so this is the class page, and I just wanted you to know that that's ahead. Finally, in terms of what's ahead, and then we'll get going, you had a question about the reflections. The third reflection is being assigned right now, okay? It will be posted on DC Connect for all of you, but you will be reflecting on the last 2 classes starting today or after this class, and you will deliver the third reflection next Tuesday night, the latest, okay? So it will be due next Tuesday night, 11:59 p.m. Exactly, exactly. So you're going to be reflecting on what stood out for you in the classes that we had with Madison. And then, of course, last class, Anna was here from Global Guardian, and we talked all about Wake Up Girl. If you remember, she woke up to the idea that she's got to get more involved in things that are happening around her. And that was, of course, the work she's been doing in helping people in Ukraine with medical supplies through an organization called Global Guardian. We might say that Madison and Maureen have already done that. They've already woken up. Well, sort of, okay. But, this idea of waking up to, getting involved in things that are bigger than you is something that came out of Anna's mouth, not mine. And I made sure that it was right up there. As a matter of fact, just to prove it to you, ooh, look at this. I can fly around today to different places. I'm going to go over to, yeah, I'm really good today. Look straight, there's the recording from last week, and we'll come full screen. No, so I'll do this to see if I can, there we go. So behind me is the recording of last week's class. And can you see, let's see if anybody online can see. Carrie Ann, what do you see on the big board behind me right now? Let's see. Can you speak, Carrie Ann, on your microphone? We'll leave it to the live chat to later. Okay, how about Leanda? Could you take a microphone here and tell me what you see right now on the recording, on the big board, on the recording of last week's class? What would you say is written there that's standing out? Come closer. Yeah, come stand up and walk. And okay, so Leanda's going to tell us. She's going to walk over right now, and tell us. And okay, good. And then when you're ready, turn on the microphone and tell us what you see there. This is the review of the notes from last week.
Something that stood out to me in this.
Let's see if this is working. Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, it should be. Yeah, it's good. Okay. So yeah, just stand and read what you see there. The last thing that's written on the notes right there. What does it say?
Says "Wake up, girl."
Wake up, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leander, would you do me a favor and turn around and look at the camera over there and tell everybody, including us, what do you think "wake up, girl" means?
I'm not too sure. I don't. I'm scared to be wrong.
Oh,
Um,
nobody's wrong in this classroom. Everybody's brave.
I guess it.
Yep. Keep going. Oh, it is. It is. Yeah. Just hold it close. Yeah.
Okay. There's like a lot of ways you can interpret this. Like maybe seeing who you are exactly. Like as a female,
Yeah.
looking deeper into yourself.
And then once you've looked deeper into yourself and you, let's say, understand yourself, now what do?
Then it's like a realization. So then it becomes like, you're waking up from what you thought was
Mm-hmm.
what it's not.
You got half of it. You've got half of it. But to be fair, not to put you too much on the spot,
It's okay.
is it okay? Because I remember when you were here a few weeks ago and you sat right here and you
Yeah.
seem to be pretty brave. Okay, so what's the half that you've missed?
Pardon me?
She's missed, Leanda has missed a half. Does anybody want to try and jump on their microphone and tell us? Or we can go over here and you can tell us as well, or Maureen or Matt. We'll wait for a second. I just
have a
want to
guess.
see if anybody, Dami, we've just established that Leanda has woken up, girl, to half of
Yes.
that. What's the other half she's missing?
This was on last class, right?
Exactly. You got it. What did Anna help us wake up to as a leader?
See, I wasn't there last class because I was at an emergency that I had
That's
to
right.
go attend to.
I think
Okay, let's see. Leanda's ready. So let's come back to Leanda. Go ahead.
Okay, so first, can you repeat that question? So
Last week we had a guest, Anna Pioro. Did you happen to see the recording of it?
I went through like
Okay.
skimmed through it.
Do you remember she was from an organization called Global Guardian?
No, but you said I'm missing the other half. Is the other half basically figuring out who you are?
That's the first half.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Socrates, great philosopher, once upon a time in ancient Greece, people often quote, said, you can't do anything in the world, really help the world until you've understood yourself.
Right.
So then once you've understood yourself, or at least you've looked into yourself a little bit, now what should you be doing with that knowledge as a
Maybe
leader?
bettering yourself and others around you, maybe?
Others around you. Exactly. So first it becomes, you got to go in and understand a bit more about who you are, but you don't just hold on to that knowledge for your own self. That's kind of sort of just all about you.
Right.
Now you got to take that and help others and make an impact on others. But how do you make an impact on others if you don't know what to do? And you know that when you go in and you begin to understand yourself. Does that make sense? So you miss that bigger outer part. You've got the inner part down, but the waking up part is both. You understand yourself, and then you start to really go out and help others. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, that
Yeah?
makes sense.
Okay, thanks. Well, why don't you hold on to the microphone, okay, and go back. And that's just a little bit of a review, but I want to get going with the class. So let me, I'll leave everything up there for now. And Maureen, is there anything you would like to say before you go over to the notes and begin to put down a few key points about the review that we did, and then we'll get going with Madison? Anything about this idea of waking up that Anna helped us to see? What do you think?
I think it's true that all of us should wake up, just because I know that mankind, or like humans, aren't species that live solitary. Like, we're not on our own. It's always about community, about, meeting people. We always have to interact. So I think waking up and trying to be like, realize that there's other people and causes that you can stand up for and contribute. I think that's important.
Yeah. Can I tell you something that might not be immediately apparent to all of you, just to get your attention, and then I'll let you go, okay? Madison, Marie needs to remain here, and it speaks very much to this idea of empathy. I would like to point out something to all of you that you may not immediately be recognizing right now. This young woman over here is of a different religion than your professor. Now, I was born Jewish, and here is a Muslim woman. Oh, hold on. I want to make sure everybody's with us. You need to see this. Ooh, somebody's flipping. That's good. Yeah, somebody say, oh, whose microphone is on? That's. Just a second. Someone coming on YouTube? Oh, somebody's. Maybe it's somebody's. Just a second. There we go. Let's go over to YouTube and see what's happening there for a moment. Somebody there? Well, is it Tori? Okay, let me check. Okay, and oh, Navpreet. Yeah, thank you. Okay, good. All right, let me. Navpreet, you must keep your microphone off. Navpreet? Hello? Yeah, thank you. Oh, I'm getting good at this. Yeah, I can figure stuff out. I can troubleshoot, and I'm going to bring back this. Good. So everybody, I just want to show you something. There are two wars happening in the world right now. Are you aware? You surely are aware of that. We are living through very difficult, volatile, almost savage times. On your social media feeds today, if you have any sense of awareness of what's happening in the world, even the remotest interest, you will know that a lot of people are getting killed right now in the world with terrible weapons of mass destruction. And in a place called Palestine in the Middle East, there is terrible killing going on, and there are about 240 Israeli Jewish hostages being held underground. Probably many of them are going to die. That's my view. And there are thousands of Palestinians who are being killed as a result of the actions of an extremist, fanatical group of radicals who have brought this war upon us. You might think that the Jew and the Muslim are at war right now, but they are not. the fact that I can stand here with Mayreen and speak so highly of her and her family and learn from them as she has from me is an indication of something that speaks to our future, I think. I am not afraid to empathize with her and her background, and she is not afraid to empathize with mine. That's what we do in this space, this intercultural space, is we understand how to be human beings. So I wanted to give you all a sense of hope, and just to remind you that at this time of conflict between two great religions, it may seem like these religions are at war. No. Extremists, radicals, fanatics are at war. But they're a minority for humanity's future. I say this is the future as we go forwards. Young woman here, black, white, this is the future. We talk. All kinds of different diversity, and we come to an understanding. We explore together. So let's do more of that today, okay? And is that a fair comment, or is there anything I'm missing? Yeah.
No, I 100% agree. We should all, live together. It's all about humanity.
It's
at
all
the end
about
of the day.
humanity. In fact, we're planning a big presentation, Mayreen and I, that we're going to make to the World Expo in 2025 in Osaka in Japan, all about the global classroom and the future of education. So I'm really looking forward to that. Anyways, does anybody have anything to say about this very point before we start talking about what is this thing called empathy and leadership and global leadership, and why is empathy so important in being an effective global leader? Anybody online want to jump in on their microphones before you can go grab a spot there, and we can get some notes down before Madison comes up and joins us, and we get some things going around empathy. I think we can come on up, okay? Yeah. And we'll get Madison a microphone. And I'm going to steal your microphone for the moment, okay? Thank you. And let me get your slides up, and I'm going to do a little stick handle right here, and I'll put over here. I'm going to put the map, and then I'm going to bring front and center will be your PowerPoint. Here it is, and I can do this quickly. Yeah, and I'll go down full screen. There's a presenter view, and I will bring this up. And there it is. It's happening quickly. Lovely. Okay. So I will simply say thank you, Madison, for coming in once again on a busy time when you're doing a lot of research right now. And so why don't you tell us a bit about the work that you did when you were here at the college as the coordinator of the Student Leadership Institute? Is it called? Yeah, student, and sort of your path to why you chose to get involved in something around leadership, and then let's talk about what you're working on right now, empathy and leadership. Okay, so please, do you want to chair? Or you're okay? Yeah, we'll stand. Okay, yeah. So please go ahead.
Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Madison. Like Lon said, I work at Ontario Tech in a research lab. I work in the mental health and the digital age research lab through the Faculty of Education. I'm doing my doctorate there right now. So the whole notion behind empathy and leadership is something I'm very passionate about, especially as we're using more technology in our lives, and maybe how technology may be reducing the empathetic interactions that we're having because we can hide behind those screens, or maybe it's enhancing it because you're exposed to a lot more stories, a lot more perspectives. So we'll have that discussion today. I am by no means lecturing today. We're having a discussion. The slides are for some background info and then just prompting discussion. So hopefully everyone's ready to chat today. But when I was here at Durham College, actually, I think today is 1 year since since I was here last, which is funny, like as part of
Was
the
it?
Institute of Student Leadership. But the Institute of Student Leadership, if you have not heard of it, is an extracurricular program you can do here at Durham. So you do get a certificate of completion at the end of it. And I developed an empathetic leadership workshop for that program because I think empathy is so core to leadership and being an effective leader and an effective human. But in leadership in particular, since you're all working towards being global leaders, I think it's important to talk about that trait, how we can exercise that trait in digital and in-person spaces. And I guess just how you can practice it more and more so that it becomes more natural. Because sometimes practicing those skills and then losing those skills, sometimes it's not innate. For some people, it's very innate, but for others, you have to practice. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the skills and how those translate into being a global leader, a local leader. But I think
Yeah.
that's
Okay. Well, let me first get some names to make sure Madison is on first name basis with everybody as we get the discussion going. It's not Daniel. Okay. Sorry.
Daniel.
Oh, it's just been 202 students, and a lot of them I never meet, and they're on the recording, so I get a bit confused. And really,
Look like a Jacob.
you're a J guy. Okay,
Daniel.
Daniel.
Dan.
Yeah.
Okay. Daniel's good.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Thanks. Juanita.
Juanita, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And Leanda, nice to meet you.
Yeah, and of course, Mayreen.
Of course, Mayreen.
And let me just see just check in online quickly, and then we'll come back to this. I just want to make sure that you have, and I can help you with that. But for the online folks, we have Sanjan Ben, Nikhil, Christina.
Hello.
Navpreet. Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Those are our live synchronous students, and then we have a whole bunch of students that will be watching the recording later. Okay, so Josh, Dami, Navpreet, Christina, Nikhil, and I'll come back and help you with that if they jump on the microphone to help with the names. Okay, so okay, then let's go back to your slide show, and we can continue with it. Okay, and I'll come back to that first one. Should I go to the next slide?
Yeah, I think it's helpful
Okay.
for us to maybe explore the definition of empathy just so we're all on the same page, because empathy and sympathy sort of are used interchangeably sometimes, but they are different things. So I just want to make sure that we are talking about the same thing. The video I'm going to show you is the audio is by Brené Brown, who's a very, very well-known psychologist, sociologist. She does excellent research on vulnerability. So she had a talk, and then somebody made an animated video based on her 3-minute part of her talk. And as you can see, there's 20 million views. So it's very well known. Some of you may have seen it. Someone in the recording may have seen it, but it just does a really great job of differentiating between empathy and
Great.
sympathy. So maybe we'll watch that
I
first.
think to help, I'm going to share it first. I'm going to put the link in the live chat for those of you who are skip verification. Let me just see if I can do this. Hold on. It may be starting. Just a second. See what's happening here today. But yeah, I'm gonna. It's just hold on. I'll do it this way. I can. Okay. It's what we're going to do right now, just so it doesn't get too confusing for everybody, is we're going to run the video here right now, and I'm going to. I'll see how it goes, and then okay, it's just is a bit of a complicated move that I'm doing, and it's on 2 different screens. But hold on, it's running there. Okay, I think the way to do this right now, I'm going to do a really fast workaround because I'm complicated. I'm going to go straight to YouTube myself and go to the video Brené Brown on empathy. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Is it? Oh, it is. Okay, there it is. Okay, good. So I'm going to stop it there. Great. Then I've Good, thank you. So I'm going to share this link right now with those of you here it comes, Brene Brown, and there it is. So for those of you with us synchronously, Josh, Dami, Napri, there it is for you in the live chat. You can watch it yourselves and get the audio and video full screen. I'm now going to run it here for everybody as well. And then I will put it also in YouTube too for the students later. And it would go here, Brene Brown. It's complicated, but anyways, it works. I'll come back to here. Okay, great. So I've done it. It's good. And then audio here. Yeah, we've got to get the audio going there. Great. So I am master DJ here, on many different levels, and I'm proud of myself. It's taken so much time to do this. Okay, let's start with an introductory video on empathy from Madison, and here we go.
Get some
I was
classical music.
just getting into it. Okay, I thought
know,
it was- I'm starting on okay, so we'll end on connection. Great. Let's come back. Hold on, I'll stop.
I believe that is from her larger TED talk that's on vulnerability. I can't remember the exact the power of vulnerability. So if you did like that little clip, then you could watch the whole thing. She's excellent. She's a very engaging speaker and writer. But yeah, so when we think about empathy versus sympathy, empathy is when we can like sit in it with somebody. We're not necessarily saying like, "Oh, that's too bad." And you can say that, you can validate. You always want to validate like, "Wow, that must be really difficult. I'm really sorry you're going through that." Those sorts of things. But empathy is the ability to feel with other people, feel other people's feelings, as opposed to sympathy, which is more like condolences, if that makes sense. Does anyone have any thoughts just about the video, about things that stuck out to you from the video? It's okay if you're just digesting.
Well, let's stop for a second and make sure that we understand why we're talking about this in a global leader class. I think that's a start, and then is that okay? We come back, okay? And Maureen, do you have you have a mic in case you want to add anything, okay? And let me just see how that camera is working over here when we come over there too. Yeah. So if you look, everybody, if you look behind you right now, you'll see what that camera is seeing for the live stream. Okay. So, anyways, it's okay, but it's working fine. So. For those of you who are online now synchronously, please jump on your microphone if there's something you want to say. Otherwise, you can put it in the live chat, but we won't get to it till a little bit later because I'm not leaving the live chat up here for now. And so we can have all the good content here. What about here? Why are we talking about this idea of empathy in a global leader class? Yeah, Leanda? Go ahead, and yeah, thanks.
Okay, this is just my guess.
Yeah,
I don't know
good.
if I'm right. But I think we're learning about this because as a leader, you should know the difference between the two and how to execute your audience properly.
And it's
That's my
interesting that
opinion.
there is a difference between sympathy and empathy, and sympathy actually can lead to disconnection, which is, I think, a pretty profound thought. You know, we tend to think sympathize, but it's the empathy that's going to lead to connection. So, and why in a global leader class do we need to talk about the importance of connection?
Because connection is what builds your audience or like the people around you, I guess. Because if you're, I don't, this is just my opinion.
Yeah, it's okay. We're in an exploration right now to understand.
I'm going in my notes. I was taking
Yep.
notes. I think like if you're an empathetic leader, you're able, like an empathetic leader, you're
Yes.
able to probably like show vulnerability where it will allow others to I'm trying to find the right words.
Hey, you're on it. You've entered the right forest. Now take us to the right tree.
Yeah, so as a leader, if you're able to show that vulnerability, then you're able to act on it, and that allows the people that you're leading to trust you more or
Mm.
take your word.
Yeah, good point. And if you're leading something, whether it's a small team at campus, or you start your own project and you have a larger team, or even if you start to rise and have an organization or a company, isn't the trust that the people around you have in you like critical?
Yeah, and that's why sympathy is different. Where you
Yeah.
feel like, I understand how you guys feel, but this is how I'm gonna run it.
Yeah.
Where that's
To come, Juanita, and then Daniel, and then we'll good. Yeah.
So from the video, like like was trying to tell the difference between empathy and sympathy.
Yeah.
But it made it seem like sympathy was like a bad thing. Like, okay, I'm not too sure what exactly sympathy is, but like at least you know, is that sympathy, or that was just like an example she was trying? Because sympathy isn't bad. I mean, maybe compared to empathy, it's something else, but it's not bad. But like, it was portrayed like, oh, you shouldn't give like sympathy. That's
Thank you for pointing that out,
Good,
because
good.
I
Yep.
felt the same, as if it was like being mocked maybe. But sympathy is still very important, and it's still an important way to communicate with other people, especially when they're going through a hard time, or you're trying to acknowledge that they're going through something. Like, I'm thinking of a loss. Like if someone experiences a loss, you could have sympathy for that person, that you feel bad for them. But then empathy is kind of like that step up where you're able to really feel that emotion with them so they feel less alone. Does that make sense? Sympathy is kind of like you independently feeling bad for them, and you can communicate that to them. But empathy is kind of like what she said, like sitting in the dark hole and like muscling it out. Do you know what I mean? You're with that person and building that connection. But sympathy by no means is a bad thing. It's just that empathy is that like additional step that helps build a connection between the person that you're trying to support or the person that may be suffering. Um, does that help differentiate it a little bit? Yeah,
Empathy is the step up. That's nice. Do you want to be from Madison? Empathy is the step
I
up.
think that's
Yeah,
how I
well-
perceive it. But you're totally right that it's like sympathy is no like we have a sympathy cards section in like Hallmark. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely not a bad thing. It's just that it's kind of the baseline immediately like, oh, I feel bad. That's too bad.
Yeah.
But empathy is like, oh, it's actually this really sucks. Like I really feel this with that person. I'm really sad for that person, and I genuinely feel that sad emotion. Or that like really happy emotion. Like I'm genuinely really happy that they got that promotion. So I can like empathize and feel that feeling with them. Whereas sympathy would be more like, oh, that's too bad. And then you just go about your day. You're not really engaging in that emotion with them.
I think we all want meaningful connection. We need to deep, meaningful connection, not fake, superficial connection that sometimes we think we can, we might get too much of today, but we're trying to get deeper connection. And empathy takes us there. Does that make sense?
Hey,
let's-
Professor.
Take the microphone over and but good, ask any, remember, there's nothing we don't talk about in this class. The question is we talk about it in a way where we respect each other and we're intelligent and we use language well, but we can talk about anything, including the most difficult things that we're not supposed to talk about in a classroom, like sex, like religion, and like money. All those things are supposed to be private, or at least you talk about with your family, your friends. We got to talk about these things here together to get real insight. Daniel?
I was just gonna make a comment about empathy and leadership. I think not only is it good to build relationships with the people who you might be leading, but if you're gonna accept the fact that like everybody makes mistakes and you're gonna make a mistake as a leader by not being empathetic or by being judgmental to people under you, you're just gonna get that reflected back on you. And it's
Blow back. It'll just blow back on you.
Yeah, it's gonna make your life worse. It's gonna make everyone's life under you worse because nobody can trust what's going on, and they're trying to get back at you for judging them. It just creates a bad dichotomy of everything.
That's bad leadership. If the people
Exactly.
around you are trying to get at you, who's interesting. Anyways, okay.
And like that point's excellent because it also breaks the trust. Like now I can't make a mistake because I'm going to be judged negatively. And who wants to be judged negatively, especially in front of their coworkers or their classmates or peers, right? So part of that showing empathy and the definitions up here, just to go back to it. But I love that point that the judgment piece, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is so critical when it comes to empathizing because who am I to say that that person should never have made that mistake? Who am I? Like that is not my role at all. I'm the one that's like, okay, that's great. This is a learning opportunity. What do we do now? What do we do to make sure that never happens again? What happened? What happened to you? What happened in the process? Not like, how dare you? I can't believe how dumb. Like, how could you ever do that and be all judgmental, right? Because then that person is now like shut down, isn't going to be too afraid to take risks or provide ideas or be vulnerable, which you need, like in order to, and you guys talk about complexity a lot.
Yeah, we talk about complexity a lot.
I'd imagine it's like a
Yes.
keyword
Yeah.
of the global
Yeah,
class is
for sure,
complexity. And to solve complex problems, you're going to have to throw out some ideas that are going to get shut down. It's just inevitable, but you have to feel that you're in a safe space in order to throw out those ideas. If they get shut down, they get shut down, but you shouldn't feel bad as a person. So that comes down to your leadership and to your peers, right? Like feeling empathy for your peers is also important. Like if I say something, if Lon throws out an idea and I say that was the dumbest idea I've ever heard, do you think Lon's going to want to say another idea? When I just outed him in front of everybody, everybody could be like, I don't know about that idea. But you still have to be like, where could he be coming from? Try to put yourself in his shoes. That's one like core thing of empathy is putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So where could he be coming from? How could that work? maybe we could rework it this way, and like really valuing each person's perspective, right? That's really important in this global world. Every single person in this room has a different opinion and perspective on any topic that we're going to talk about ever. Literally, like, I like eggs for breakfast. Someone likes them scrambled, someone likes them like, do you know what I mean? Everyone has a different opinion, perspective, preference. Everybody's so different, and that's why we have to listen to everybody, because that's how we're going to find solutions to things, because we can discuss them and sit in those.
And that's complexity right there.
Yeah.
You know, how you can move forward together when there's so many different pieces, so many different people, so many different perspectives, but we still have to move forward together. Together, how do you do that? You want to, Daniel?
I was just gonna add another add-on thing. As a leader, you're definitely gonna be in the spotlight more than anybody else under you, so you're gonna have a lot more chances to be judged. So it's good for you to set the precedent.
Totally. Yeah.
Because like if someone's under you is feeling that way, they're not gonna say anything, but in the end, if you're the leader, you're the
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good.
It's hard being in the spotlight.
Here, let me go. I'll keep going. Yeah.
So this one, and I'm sorry, I know that some of it will be small for some people because of the screen, but I just found some of these quotes, and I didn't know if we wanted to just take a peek and like see if any of them really stick out to you. They're from fairly well-known politicians like Barack Obama. John Connolly is an Irish writer. Alfred Adler is a psychologist.
Let's read some of them. Okay. Why don't you go ahead and we'll together we'll read them and make sure that we can explore them a little bit, because there's a lot of content here. And also Madison has done the curating, if you will, of what to pick. So it's gone through her brain.
We're going to dive into the Sterling Brown one a lot more in a minute. But so I think we could maybe look at this one. Really stuck out to me personally, and maybe something else will stick out to you more. But I think we all have empathy. We may not have enough courage to display it, because we were talking about being brave earlier in the introduction to this class. So sometimes you don't want to be vulnerable. You don't want to show those emotions. You don't want to show something where you could be judged, because this person could be judged. And if I'm on their side, then am I going to be judged? And I think there's lots of social comparisons nowadays. So it's very much like I'm going to be in my own little silo so that I don't get attacked on social media or in person, right?
Yeah.
So I think the courage piece is interesting. We could chat about that.
Well, actually, I can remind all of you, let's go back to class 1 or 2. And I told a story right from here, the bench story. When Connor, hi Connor, I think you're watching the recording. I don't see him. And said, you know, Lon, what are your passions? Your passions as a leader, if you will. And I said, I'm going to tell you a story about 3 words that I saw on the back of a bench in downtown Toronto that were really important in front of University of Toronto. Do you remember what they were? The 3 ones, and courage was the second. But there was something above it and something beneath it, and those 3 qualities really encapsulate what you need to have to start to become an effective global leader. First, you need imagination. You need vision. A person who leads is not following, they're leading. They're getting out in front. So they have a vision in their imaginations of where they want to go. Then they have the courage to start to go there when everyone says, don't go there. It's going to cost too much money. It's not going to be relevant enough. You haven't proven enough yet, but you want to do that because you think it's necessary and you feel it will make a difference, a positive difference. And then the third thing was perseverance. Imagination, courage, and perseverance. You remember that from way back in the first class or 2? Critical qualities. Okay, so courage is right up there.
Imagination, too, is really important. In order to empathize, you have to imagine what it's like to be in that person's position, right? So I think imagination is key in the courage piece. I just like that part. Imagination's important. Empathy is seeing with the eyes of another, listening with the ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another. That's another one, just thinking about all the different senses and how you can channel those different senses. So how could that person be seeing the world? How could that person have received that comment? Like, would that have been hurtful? Would that have been motivational? So hearing with their ears, quote unquote, and feeling with the heart of another person. So how would that have felt? How would that have made me feel? So maybe they're feeling the same way. Maybe they're feeling completely different, and I'm going to go into that in a moment. But just thinking about all the different ways that you can try to channel what someone else is going through your senses is also an interesting perspective that Alfred Adler shared. I think Barack Obama is also an interesting one. This will be my last one, and then we'll go into the Sterling Brown one. But learning to stand in somebody else's shoes, to see through their eyes, that's how peace begins. And it's up to you to make that happen. Empathy is a quality of character that can change the world. I think that's perfect for the global class, especially with peace, because we're looking
Yes.
for peace, right? Internally, we're looking for peace. Externally, we're looking for peace. Globally, we're looking for peace. So I just think that's interesting because he's a very well-respected politician, obviously, and leader who I think has excellent insights.
It's a really great word you brought up, peace.
Mhm.
And if I could just bring it back for a moment to this idea of the wars that are taking place now in Europe and in the Middle East. We're not going to get into the history now, that's another class, but do you know that in both parts of those areas right now, in Ukraine and Russia and also in the Holy Land, there have been decades and decades of efforts of people to make peace. And do you know what happened every so often to the men who were trying to make peace, or the women too? They were assassinated by radicals. And so peace is really, really hard. There's a diplomat, George Mitchell, who spent a lot of time in the Middle East over the decades, who said that in his efforts to try and bring the sides together, 799 times you fail. But then there's that one success, the 800th time. That's when you get the peace. Do you have the patience to go through the 799 failures to get to that moment of peace? Think about it. The patience it takes to get to a point of peace, even internal peace. It's a hard struggle. But Barack Obama said, hard things are hard. He had that quote on his desk. Think about what that means. Hard things are hard. Just stop for a moment. There's a lot more there than you may realize. Hard things, like a tree, hard things, to make that hard thing, it takes effort to get it hard. It takes a long time. And then if you want to build something that's hard things are hard, it means you need to put effort into it. A Buddhist once said, give me the easy way or give me the hard way, I will take the hard way. Because that's where the real deep growth and structure is built. The hard thing that's going to stand the test of time. Hard things are hard. There's so much meaning in that. So, do you have it in you to go for those 799 times of listening to somebody and failing and this to get to that point of peace? Yes, you do, but you got to hang in there. You got to persevere, right? Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Should we keep going?
Sure.
Okay.
I just wanted to highlight this one because it aligns a little bit more with my research, and just wanted to give that kind of additional perspective. So this quote is by Sterling K. Brown, who's an actor. Lots of people hopefully have seen him. He's also a very intelligent individual. But his quote was, empathy begins with understanding life from another person's perspective. Nobody has an objective experience of reality. It's all through our own individual prisms. So we think about a prism. When light hits a prism, the one light then moves into the rainbow, right? All different beams of light come off of that prism. So we all have those different perspectives. So I research trauma. So when someone has gone through a traumatic event, if Lon and I are in the exact same car, for an example, we may have completely different memories of that traumatic event. And there was one study done with a couple where 5 years later they did an MRI on both members of the couple who were in a car accident. And on the MRI, the woman's different areas of the woman's brain lit up compared to her husband's, just based on how they remembered the event. So part of the exercise was they were talking about the event, they were recounting what they remembered, and literally different parts of their brain lit up. So one of them had more of their occipital lobe lit up, so they were remembering more of like the sounds, and someone else remembered more of like the visuals. So
Sure.
but they were sitting beside each other, same day, same car, same event, same everything, same temperature, same everything, but they perceived it completely differently. So that's also an important part of empathy. And when we're considering someone else's perspective, you have to consider that you may not be able to completely sit in their shoes because you've gone through different life experiences, you have a different cultural background, you have different just views on morals or why something might be traumatic to one person might not be to another, why something might be super exciting to one person might not be to another. So also understanding that your personal perspective is always going to influence how you empathize with someone and whether you truly can. And you're never going to be like, I know what you're going through. You might have gone through something similar, but you won't ever know exactly what they're going through because it's their experience.
It's the effort that you're
But
making.
that's
Right? It's the effort that you're making to go further.
Mhm.
How
But you
far
have
are
to
you
put in
prepared
that
to go?
effort. You have to try to channel those different emotions and think about how other people are feeling. So we kind of started on this question, but we can talk about it more now.
Let's stop for a moment and make sure that everybody is sort of on the same page, or let's say in the same book, but there's going to be different pages because that's diversity. So let me check and make sure that things are working, because I saw the YouTube, it froze for a second, and I just want to make sure that we're still okay in Toria. Okay, so just let me bring this over, and I will do this. Yeah, we're good. Okay, we're still lodging. It's just something froze on YouTube, but that's fine. So let's check in. Ajoy is with us. Great, from Bangladesh, and in the live chat. Hi, Ajoy. How you doing?
Hi, Professor. Good morning. Nice to see you.
Okay. Oh, I think I know what the issue might be. Hi, Ajoy. Can you hear me in Dhaka?
Yes. Hi, Professor. How are you?
Okay, good. So, would you do me a favor, do all of us, and just read what you wrote in the live chat for us? Go ahead.
Well, I said that to understanding the cultural competence, we need to know deeply about the empathy, because a global leader is he who has the empathetic mindset for the diversity.
For diversity. Is there anything else that you want to add at this point around the idea of the why empathy is necessary in leadership? Right. That was the. I don't have the slide right with me at the moment, but Ajoy, is there anything you would like to add about the importance, but from your perspective? Because for the students, let me remind you, this young man right now, who has a lot to say and is a very up and coming scholar, graduated from a good university in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and is very open to the rest of the world. He's thousands of miles away from us in a very small country right now, and let's orient ourselves to where he is. If you look at the map of the world and you go sort of east, past China, come down, and you will see right in the sort of northeastern tip of India, you see Bhutan, and you see Nepal, and then you will see right squeezed in there, Bangladesh. And right now, Ajoy is sitting in the capital city, right? In Dhaka, are you, Ajoy?
Yes, I'm in Dhaka.
And how many people would you say the population of Dhaka is, approximately? Ajoy, what would be the population? What would you say?
Yep.
200,000?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Ajoy, could you tell us what the population approximately is of the city that you are now sitting in, this tiny little place?
200 million.
200 million.
Mm.
We had a student here who just said his jaw dropped, 200,000. His country, Bangladesh, in which Dhaka sits, the capital, the country is tiny. 200 million. Imagine. So his perspective on things is going to be quite different than ours, just from this one simple fact that as soon as he steps out into a street in Dhaka, it's pretty crowded in Dhaka, isn't it, Ajoy?
Yes.
Okay. So many other things you can tell. But what do you think we need to know, Ajoy, from your perspective about empathy and leadership? Just from your perspective as a Bangladeshi, as a young, scholar who's interested in the world, what other things do you think we need to understand from your perspective that's not in the live chat? Please go ahead.
Right now, I can say about the okay. I'm watching the world is becoming more messy and becoming a place of conflict in terms of the global political scenario. Yeah, it's changing, which supposed to not change because in the beginning of this century we have seen the new era in terms of the digitalization, in terms of the globalization, in terms of the more diversity based activism happen. But in last 10 years, so many things change. So what we call this, we need a leader need a empathy, because what we call the conflict crisis coming to understanding the crisis communication, to combating the crisis communication, to manage the crisis communication, a leader must have to need the empathy and empathetic mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there quite a bit of conflict in Bangladesh?
Yes.
Okay. I have an interesting fact for you about Bangladesh. And Ajoy, you might like this. I saw this on our national news last night. The CBC News did a small documentary last night on addiction to cell phones.
Oh, yes.
And I haven't had time to dig deeper on the data, but this comes from a pretty good journalist. The countries where the use of the cell phone is greatest, number one, I think, was Indonesia, Malaysia, then Bangladesh. In other words, and the documentary actually was exploring addiction to our cell phones, that we can't put them away. I don't necessarily think we have an addiction. We could explore that a little bit, but I just wanted to ask you, do you use your cell phone a lot, Ajoy?
Yes, Professor. Actually, it is not only for addiction. I have to use also for the I'm a communicating person. Okay, I'm a communication person. So I like to, because I believe I believe the active communication can create a positive change. Okay, in not only from academic life, also your social and personal life. So.
Yeah, makes sense. We should come back to that at some point. We should talk, you and I, about maybe doing a class on Bangladesh and the cell phone and why this would come up in a documentary about the cell phone, that Bangladeshis have the highest use of cell phone, among the highest in the world. And addiction, and that's been something actually Madison has been exploring, mental health and tech. Anyways, okay, thanks, Ajoy, for your contribution. And well, isn't it kind of late there right now? Don't you need to get some sleep? You okay to stay with us a little bit longer?
Yeah, I can.
What time is it right there now?
It's 10:30 p.m.
Okay. Well, it's kind of late, but okay, good. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add or ask about Ajoy, who just gave us a critical piece of information that corrected the record. We had a comment here about the population of Bangladesh based on size, maybe being 200,000. That was the kind of thought that a student had. And Ajoy has now told us it's more like 200 million. Whoa. The world's pretty different wherever you go. Okay. So let's come back into the your slides, okay? And make sure you have time to keep going. So let me bring this back. And so crisis, Ajoy was telling us that sort of that there's a lot of conflict in the world. He sees from his perspective, and that we need to be developing empathy more to be able to deal with this, you know, these crises of conflicts. That there's a need to understand empathy more. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I think so. I think it's interesting to hear Ajoy's perspective as well, because like Brené Brown is an American scholar, so we're looking at it from a fairly Western perspective. So considering that not all areas of the world are going to see it the same way is always important, and that diversity piece is really important, and being able to empathize with other cultural backgrounds, other religions, other just people from other walks of life, I think is really important in diffusing any conflict, even in just like at a grocery store, like someone gets in an argument, like
Yeah.
why would they be having that argument, or why are they upset, and like thinking about why they could be upset, so that you can then diffuse that. You have to connect with something within yourself in order to support them the best to diffuse that situation. Otherwise, you could just create more conflict.
Yeah.
If you're not able to pause and try to put yourself in those other perspectives or other people's shoes.
Leadership is about empathy. You've got something there from Oprah.
Oh, yes. I love this one. Leadership is about empathy. It is about having the ability to relate to and connect with people for the purpose of inspiring and empowering their lives, which I thought was also good for global leaders, because wanting to make a very large impact, being able to empathize with people, and like having the ability to relate to and connect with. That's so important in order to inspire change and empower others to make change. So if you're looking to make that global impact,
Empowerment.
or a local impact, global impact, empowerment is also important, in that, you know, roots back to the trust. You want to trust your leader. You want to trust the person that's leading the campaign. You want to trust that the information you're getting is like fact checked and valid. Even I'm thinking the Global Guardian, they're incredible leaders in our community here and in Ukraine by being able to support more.
Yeah.
But they provide us with high quality, valid information, so that we know that what we're doing is what's necessary, as opposed to people making assumptions in terms of creating change. And I'll talk about the listening piece in a moment. But
Well, actually, just I have a thought, just to make sure that everyone has a chance to reflect on the relevance to their own lives. I'd like to ask one or two of you, if you can think of a time when you have been empathetic in a conflict, and that helped make the conflict better, or that it helped to empower the person you were in conflict with to be better, that there was a positive impact from your empathy in diffusing the conflict and allowing both of you to be more empowered somehow.
Can I say
Essentially-
something?
Yeah, great. Is that Dami?
Yeah.
Excellent. I love the way you jump. Just go for it. Okay. Tell us.
So like an aspect of my life would definitely be about me and like my girlfriend. There's times where we had arguments and conflicts where it's like I was just like, or we were just being selfish with our own point of views or with our own emotions, that we couldn't see that I couldn't see that she's coming from a place of hurt, that this actually hurts her. This is a problem for her. And she couldn't see that I'm actually being hurt as well. This is a problem for me. And then when we like calm down and like try to talk it like smoothly, try to understand the pain or trying to understand the emotions that this person is feeling, it actually just makes everything like
Yeah.
it just soothes it out. It just becomes like, why are we even
Soothes it
arguing
up.
about
I like
something
that.
like this?
Soothes it up. Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah. Keep going, Dammy. Finish your thought.
Yeah, that's it. That's about it. Like, we're able to empathize with each other and notice that, okay, I'm feeling this way, but she's also feeling this way, like the same way I'm feeling, or even different emotion herself. So like, I need to understand where she's coming from, and I need to understand that she's whatever she's feeling is also valid.
Wow.
She won't just be like making those feelings up. What she's feeling is also valid. So I need to understand it and like change it, or like do something about it. We need to do something about it to make it better.
Dammy,
That makes
thank
sense.
you. Thank you for that. That's great. And also for the courage to tell us something meaningful where you appear momentarily vulnerable. I think that's the only way we can learn together. And let's keep going. It's Juanita's got something to say, and let's pursue this. Go ahead.
Okay, so okay, so what I'm going to say is going to make me look like I'm not like empathetic or anything. So I was having an argument argument with my friend.
Yeah.
Not really an argument, like we decided to do something in our room, like where we pray every Sunday in the evening. So I said, okay, like I take the prayer points and the next Sunday, the next person. And then she's like, oh, the prayer points are supposed to, like, are they the same? I said, yeah, it doesn't really matter. And she's like, no, like, aren't you supposed to pray like as you feel like led? And then sometimes I do this thing where someone says something that in my mind it's so illogical. Like, what do you mean by what you just said? Like, so if you're standing from out, like you're looking at like our argument, like if you're seeing my face, I'm like, what? Like, what did you just actually? Maybe I don't say it, but my face is like, because there's some things like happen or people say, and you're just like naturally like, because we grew up in the church, our parents, our uncles, like there are certain things, there are teachings that we've gone through. This is not how it is, and I don't know why you don't know, but this is this is not how it is. And at a point I could see myself actually like telling her that, oh, well, but that's not da, 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 da. And then she kind of like backed out and she was like, oh, that she's tired, that she doesn't want to talk about it and everything. And I'm like, oh, I might have done a lot there. I might have not like shown any form of like empathy, like because I was just like in her face, like, what do you mean? Like,
You were in her face.
yeah,
you
I was
messed up.
yeah,
Messed
so
up. You're in her face.
That's like great for you to like acknowledge that and reflect on that, because maybe next time if you get in that argument you could be like, well, tell me about what, like, why do you think I'm doing it wrong, or how were you taught, or do you know what I mean, like how are the teachings done in your childhood that are different from mine, and how can we talk about that at the same time? Like, I love that example. Thank you for sharing. And being vulnerable, because even you said I might not look like the most empathetic person at the at the beginning here, but that's okay because that's part of the learning. Like, awareness of anything is so important, because now as you move forward you can be like, am I being empathetic right now? It's also really difficult to do that when you're really mad. It's really difficult to be like fired up and in her face or in whoever's face and be super frustrated, or like Dammy said, you're both very emotional and hurting.
Yes.
And then again, like Dammy said, taking a break and being like, okay, let's just come back to the table and talk about this differently, because that didn't go well the first time and
Yes.
hurtful things were said or hurtful things came out. And now we can empathize better because my emotions aren't super high. And that just takes practice. But I loved both examples. So thank you
Well,
both
it's
for
constant,
sharing.
but it's also the ability to reflect on yourself and how you act in the moment. Even, for example, this happens to me. In my marriage, I've been married now about 12 years and been with my wife for about 17 or 18 years. And we have a great marriage, but we've had some difficulties. And there are times when we're in conflict and I feel like my emotions are getting the better of me, I have little tricks that I do. And one trick, by the way, is just to immediately kind of put my hand on my stomach and just sort of like just quick breath, like get in touch with my breath, just to ground myself at that simple moment where I could lose control. I'm grounding myself to reflect on the fact, here's what's happening right now. I'm not acting the way I want. It's time to calm down. There are all sorts of tricks that we can learn if we explore on how to get yourself out of that moment that you're in where you might be losing it. You might be wanting to get into somebody's face, and to stop that and reflect for a moment. And that's something that I'm always trying to have you do in your reflections. I do believe that to be a really effective global leader in today's complex world, you've got to be able to reflect on yourself and take responsibility for your own emotions and not blame others for being wrong or for being stupid or for being misinformed. Maybe the problem is that I am not reacting well. I'm not listening, really listening. Daniel? Oh, I'll bring it over because it seems to be easier, and then you can reflect, Juanita, on what just happened. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't know. I did step out there for a second, so I don't know if I'm a little bit off base here, but when it comes to empathy and relationships, and not just in general with like your like partner, but also relationships with your family, I find like when you're having a moment where you're struggling and and I really relate with what you were saying, where like you're reacting, you're like, why are you like this? And your face and your body language may say one thing, but it's out of confusion. It's not out of judgment. It's literally just like, I want to know how you feel because I care about what you're saying. And because I care so much, I'm gonna react this way, and it can come off wrong. And I find my favorite thing for me personally is I try to remind myself that like when you're speaking, it's a lot better to take the perspective of it's your job to communicate yourself in a way that other people or the person your audience is can understand. So rather than looking at it from this is true, look at it from this is what they agree with, and this is how I can formulate what I agree with into their terminology. So go into their playing field and
Go into
That's
their playing
empathy.
field, their
That's
shoes.
empathy.
Excellent. Yeah, go into their playing field. Keep going, Daniel. That's great.
it like I find just trying to even think about it like that can allow people to see that you're not judging them, but you're trying to. And then once you have both sides understanding that this is not like a judgment thing, this is like we're trying to understand each other, it's a lot easier to get to that end point where you guys are like, we're at the same page, we understand what's going on. But like it's that like initial thing that what you're talking about where like you'll jump and then now it's a argument. It's not a
Yeah, yeah.
discussion. You're posturing or this or that. It's like you kind of get over that with the whole like just formulating that in a way that they may understand, or just even saying like I like to say, like especially to my dad, because me and my dad have a lot of this issue where like he says things in a very different way that I think about it. Like I don't think about things in the same way that he communicates it. And so sometimes I literally just say that. I'm like, Dad, how you're saying it right now doesn't make sense to me. You might be right, but can you say it in another way? And then when I say that, a lot of the time you'll step back, we'll stop talking about it, and then maybe a day later or even a few hours later, he'll come up to me with like, this is what I meant. And a lot of the time that ends up solving the issue rather than
right.
creating more.
I love that
Thank you,
so much.
Daniel.
Thank you for sharing. That was amazing. And it just points, and Dammy's too, both of you, all three of you, is really about communication. Communication is key with every single aspect of our lives, right? Conflict, relationship building, connection building. That's in an online space, in person, working in groups, with partners, with family, with siblings. My gosh, with siblings.
I
But
can
it's
even
so
take
important.
it a little larger into the workplace.
Yes.
Do any of you know the name Steven Spielberg, the great Hollywood director? The classic Jaws. It goes back, although more recently, Schindler's List. And he's one of the most celebrated commercial directors of all time out of Hollywood. Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, a lot of these great directors. Spielberg once said, directing a movie, a production of, it's like a little city, thousands of people. You can see credits. You ever the credit roll at the end of, The Bourne Identity or Spider-Man? It's like, thousands of people. he said that good directing is 80% communication. 80%.
Can
He
I
has to
add
be able
something to
So,
to what?
Dami, yep,
So she said communication is key.
is key. 80% of good directing, a lot of people, is you have to communicate to those people effectively.
Yeah,
And
what I want to add to that is
go ahead.
communication is key, but I think comprehension is just as important
Good
as communication as well.
listening.
The listening, the
Excellent,
listening.
Dami.
I love it.
Right.
Yes.
Comprehension. Maureen, make sure, and then communication is key. But then Dami, says, yes, but
I always love yes,
comprehension
but.
is key. Yes, but comprehension, that's wise. And obviously, Dami, that allowed you to resolve that difference with your girlfriend because you made the effort to really comprehend her, correct? Would you say? Is that a correct reading of what
Yes, yes,
happened? Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Oh, okay, hold on. Yeah, let's go over to Juanita.
Okay, so this is like a question. Yeah, so comprehension is important, but like you said, we grew up in different places, different backgrounds, like different understandings of different things. So I know most of the times things in life people don't really agree, but most of the times you choose to do different things. Like you choose to react, you choose to not listen, you choose to make that a problem, you choose to. But in a case where like we're talking, like my friend now, like there's sometimes that's just like I can't understand what you're saying. So now I don't know like if that's the fine line between me choosing not to understand because I think I'm right, or it's more of like I physically cannot because of how I was brought up. And you can say that and I'm like, what are you like? I'm actually trying my best, but I can't. I get what you're saying, but I can't understand it. Like so like what happens then?
Go ahead, Leanda. Yeah, go ahead.
I just have something to add to that. I completely agree with her because when you grow up a certain way and then you're interacting with people who grew up differently from you, you're obviously gonna think what you know and what your practices is right compared to, and then that when the two of you are communicating, then you clash because so communication and comprehending everything, like, but it will also be hard and not only that too, when you grew up a certain way and that's your practice and people around you that's how they also practice what they're doing, and then you meet somebody who's completely different, it's going to be hard for you to even listen and comprehend what they're saying.
100% hard things are hard. I completely agree.
And you'll be defensive too, so that's where the argument starts.
100%. And I think, thank you both. That was awesome. I think this is just my opinion. I'm not necessarily an expert. I'm still learning too, but when it comes to something that's so rooted to your core, like it's your core identity or it's something you grew up with or it's something that you practice every single day, so this is like your way of doing it, I don't think it's necessarily to like give that up, and I don't think that it's to compromise is always wonderful, but you don't necessarily have to like give way to all of those things. It's just about communicating to your friend or to who like the new walk of life that you've interacted with. Just communicate like, hey, this is how I grew up doing it. This is how you grew up doing it. So let's just practice them. Like, let's agree to practice in the same space and just respect each other. Like, you don't have to adopt my way of thinking. I'm not going to adopt your way of thinking, or I'm trying to be open-minded to your way of thinking. But if, like, for example, with your friend, the religious practices, if there's a certain way you do it in a certain way that she does it, there has to be some kind of way to respect both parties in order to practice together, but maybe in your own ways, if that makes sense. It's just the empathy piece is more like, I understand, maybe it's I understand that we are not going to agree on this. I just understand that, but I have to respect it.
Well, we have to respect each other as human beings.
Yes. Yes.
You
And
know-
all of the differences. I am never going to understand what it's like to walk in a man's shoes because I'm a woman. I'm just not going to understand it, but I can empathize like, oh, that might have been difficult. That might have been a difficult conversation for him. Do you know what I mean? Like, but so I can think about it. I can be like, I would have felt hurt in that moment, or I would have maybe said this differently, or like I can think about it and empathize, but I'm never going to truly get it. So we can just agree that you're having a different human experience than I am.
But
and
Daniel makes a good
coexist.
point by saying, with his father that, then maybe you come back to it the next day.
I loved that.
That's good leadership, is that you walk away at a certain point and say, well, maybe we'll let the paint dry. Let's come back the next day when things have calmed down and figure it out. And imagine having an employer. Imagine being a boss.
Mhm.
Imagine working for somebody. Imagine you were the person in a position who is running things, and you go back to the person, one of your employees, and you say, listen, I've thought about this. I've reflected on this. Here's my thought now. Boy, the respect that your team would have for you as a leader in showing that you cared enough that you're coming back the next day when things calm down and you're saying, here's what I've thought about. Now I'd like to talk a little bit more. That shows.
Can I say something as well?
Yeah, go ahead, Dami. Yes?
There's two things that I want to point out. There's a saying that says, I can't remember the exact saying, but you cannot see your own reflection in boiling water. You can only see your reflection after the water
Well,
has been
Maureen,
cooled.
we got another
Love
beauty.
that.
from
Dami's on
Dami.
fire today. I love that.
Dami, I'm going to make a suggestion. You don't need to come in person anymore. Just stay wherever you are, and we'll get it down. Okay. So, Dami, who is that from? Dami's head, or is that from something you read, something you heard?
It
never
is
speak-
from. It is actually from my girlfriend
No way.
and a bunch of. She's here right now, but she's shy to talk. But yeah,
So she knows that you said about the fight.
yeah.
Is there any particular biblical, perhaps, part of that? Does that come from any scriptures that we know of?
There would definitely be like some scriptures about things like that. I know like there's definitely scriptures about things like that, but at the moment I cannot recall any scriptures.
Well, we've only got about 5 minutes left, so we're not going to be able to do everything, okay? But the critical thing is we come to this spot where we're interacting, and I like to help broaden this out so that it's more global. First, I want to remind all of you, apart from thanking Madison, everybody here, I'll do that at the end, is let's just remind what's been happening here, okay? Jewish professor, Christian, Nigerian, Black young woman here, and Muslim young woman there writing the notes. And we're having a real conversation. This is important. Now, I'm going to ask, as the older man here, male, the young Muslim woman there, is there anything in the Quran, in your scriptures? Oh boy, I'm supposed to only talk about the Torah, the Old Testament, but now I'm showing some vulnerability here, meaning I don't have all the answers, and I'm asking her. Just want to remind you what's happening. Does the Quran have anything to say about this idea of you can't really understand and know yourself when the water is boiling? You gotta let it go flat so you can see your reflection. Does it say anything about this, Maureen?
Well,
Let's turn the camera over there, folks.
it's just one of a big quality that we have in the religion is that the word Islam comes from like the root word, which means like peace. Salam, it means peace. So we're obviously encouraged to maintain peace a lot through like the teachings of the Quran and also through the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. These are the prophet who kind of brought us the religion, but he's like his lifestyle is an example, obviously, because he was preaching the religion and it was new at the time. There's been examples where people obviously showed like disdain or like negative feelings towards him, but him being kind of like a leader and like the role model for
Yes.
all the Muslims, there's been like instances where he's kind of like not said anything or still showed the help or the positive, the qualities on his side.
Yes.
So we're encouraged to practice a lot of that. In terms of even like marriage, it says, the man is good who's good to his wife.
Yes.
So we have a lot of those teachings. So that it's a big part of
And
of us.
peace, the idea of peace, that you can't you can't really I can't finish my thought, so I'm going to let some of you finish it because we're near the end here. Why don't we let Daniel give the last word, since he's not only demonstrated some wisdom and leadership, but also he has shown that he likes to fix things. He's a bit of a fixer. He showed this in our class with Alvin. Remember? He's the fixer, and we talk about sustainability and and so, how do you fix things unless you got to be calmer, you got to be at peace, then we can heal. But anyways, I'm just talking. Daniel,
This is
please finish for us.
this is more about what we were talking about with empathy and just coming back to problems, and then also like how you solve problems when you are struggling with communicating with someone who thinks very differently than you. I think also there is a very strong importance to also have an ability to accept that two things can be true that oppose each other at the same time. So you might think one thing, the other person might think one thing, and they might seem like only one can be true, but they might both be true. There might be a larger underlying factor that makes everything true that nobody's considering. And then also the fact that sometimes you're not going to be able to come to an agreement, and just having the ability to politely disagree in a way that makes other people feel like their opinions are being valued,
Yeah.
while you're also not giving up your own. So you're still staying strong in what you truthfully believe, but also kind of giving the other person the
The
space.
respect. The respect. Yeah. We'll come to Madison, give you the final word. I just wanted to remind you as well that this class, when we talk about leadership, is about humanity too. That you cannot have an impact on anything unless you recognize what you share with others. And what we share in the definition of humanity is a bond, the human bond. And I think that Daniel makes a pretty convincing and important point when he says that even if we are disagreeing, even if you as the boss, you as the leader, are impatient with someone on your team, or you are in conflict with somebody in your company, or you are seeing something different than somebody in your organization, at the end of the day, if you can display as a leader the fact that no matter how much you may see things differently, you never break that bond of humanity with the people around you. That you can disagree, you can give orders that may be, or instructions that are difficult. You can do all of these things, but somehow your team, the people around you, always feel, even if it's bad news, that you're never disrespected, that there's a common bond that unites us all, and that's the human bond. And it's a powerful thing to always remember. The human bond is something that really is never broken in any relationship that we have with others. And if we break that bond, then we have a real problem. Does that make sense? I think I'm saying more or less what you're saying. I'm just trying to broaden it out a little bit more. Madison, please finish up, and then we will finish the class for today, okay?
Mhm.
Sorry we can't do
No,
everything,
that's
but
okay.
we're
This was important
Yeah,
to do it
this was
this way.
important,
I only had
absolutely.
like prompts just in case, but
good.
no, first of all, thank you for engaging with the conversation today, and Dammy and everyone online, thank you too. I really appreciate the discussion because that makes the learning a lot easier and more applicable to you. I would just say, I guess, in terms of empathy and leadership, I think you can be a leader in your everyday life. You don't have to be someone that's like leading protests and leading the charge and starting non-for-profits. You can absolutely be that person. And I encourage you, if you find that thing you're passionate about, to be that person. But you can be an empathetic and kind leader in your everyday life, in the classroom, at home, with your friends, in your friend group, with strangers. Like there's always going to be an opportunity to practice empathy and to be empathetic to another individual. And that's always going to be something that you can be proud of as a person, to be empathetic and to make another person's life better, to diffuse conflict, to make another person feel heard, to make that connection with someone, to make them feel connected in a fairly disconnected world, I think, and very connected world, just virtually.
Yes, yes.
But I just think that empathy is so important. I would go as far as to say that it's one of the most important pieces of humanity, is that ability to empathize. So whenever you have that opportunity to pause, reflect, empathize, and then regroup or approach something differently, always take that opportunity, because it will make a big difference in your connections and in your ability to lead. So thank you again for
Yeah.
having me.
Thank you all, everybody. I'm just going to go and check in Toria for a second in case we've missed something. But other than that, we will conclude very shortly. I see Adjoy still in there, or at least his comment. We're still going. Okay, so third reflection is officially being assigned now. I will post this on DC Connect, and it will be 425 to 450 words, not 325 like last half of semester. It's worth 15% now, not 12.5% of your grade, and it will be based on what you felt was really important in our last 2 classes. Okay, thank you again, Madison, and you know where to reach me on email. See everybody next week, including your final assignment, which is a longer research reflection 6. Yeah, so this is the 3rd. Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to just first save the live chat before I forget. That's my big thing here today. Good, got it. Okay, and then the next thing I need to do is I'm going to stop the live stream. Great.